So I went to that church, and she told me, "Oh, you convert people then?" She was in a supportive way. I'm like, "No, I'm not in the converting business.
Yeah.
I just want to share with my Jewish brothers that the Messiah already came. Our Messiah already came.
Yeah, the Messiah of Israel.
Yes, of Israel. That he came for the lost sheep of Israel,
Yeah.
and also be blessing to all nations."
Welcome back to the Covenant and Conflict podcast, where we take ancient truths, modern issues, and see where they connect together. And with us today, we have a very special guest, Emmanuel Roro.
Shalom, shalom.
We're so excited you're here. We just got to spend time together in Israel.
Yes.
And now you're spending time in Texas,
Come on.
which one could say is the Israel of America.
Go. Hey.
He's not disputing it, so it might be true. Well, we're so excited that you're here. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Will you share a little bit about who you are, your story, what brought you to Israel, what brought you to faith in Yeshua, and then we're just going to talk about all things Israel, the Jewish people, following Yeshua, Ethiopia.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk, but share a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely. So I'm Emmanuel. I was actually born and raised in Israel in a city called Netanya, which is 30 minutes northern to Tel Aviv.
It's my wife's favorite place to land
Come
in
on,
Israel,
it's like
Netanya. The beach.
Ooh.
Come on.
I'm in Texas, but you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're not the Netanya of America.
But yeah, definitely beautiful place. But my parents, they actually came from Ethiopia.
Yeah,
Ethiopian Jews, and
which a lot of people might not even understand or have heard of the Ethiopian Jewish community, but it's like one of the most ancient Jewish communities that exists in the world.
yeah,
And our pastor that serves over all of Africa has said that Ethiopia is one of, if not the only place in Africa that wasn't colonized.
that's right.
So it didn't even get the kind of infiltration from other forms of Christianity and modern Judaism. So Ethiopia's Jewish culture is like ancient.
Yeah.
Will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Many people consider even the Ethiopian Jews to be this pure Jewish people, where most of the other Jewish people, around Europe, Western Europe, East Europe, they had the oral law that they claimed was given on the Mount of Sinai.
Yeah, like the Talmud and
Exactly.
Mishnah.
All of those additional things to the Bible. But when you go to the Ethiopian Jews in Ethiopia, like first my grandfather, my mother, they never heard of the oral Torah. They never heard about those books.
Yeah.
Never wrote it down, and they had purely the Old Testament.
Yeah, the Tanakh.
Yeah. And they were exercising their faith based on that. So their way to exercise their faith looked differently.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have those other instructions that were added by men.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, the foundations for the Ethiopian Jewish community, do y'all drive your roots back to the Queen of Sheba visiting Solomon and then coming back to Ethiopia? Is that right?
Yeah, so there are different...
Is that legend?
I would say that there are different spots in history that you can assume that there were Ethiopians people that were Jews, Queen Sheba, or even Zipporah. We don't know exactly which one were those it was, but it really tracks back, and you see the lineage.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, because I believe there was a court date in Israel with trying to make aliyah, and the Ethiopian community was claiming Queen of Sheba from Ethiopia came, went back, and there's been a Jewish community ever since. And I think the court ruling in Israel's major court was verified.
And actually, not only the Supreme Court, it was only approved by the main rabbi of Israel at that time, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who approved, and he said, they are our brothers, we need to bring them back. And that was even approved by the rabbis.
Wow.
One of the challenges that were in that time, that they knew that the Ethiopian Jews were missing some of those oral Talmud books.
Yeah.
So they were trying to re-Jewish them again by adding those things on them.
Got it. So your grandparents, were they priests? Do I remember that right?
Yeah,
You telling me that story?
Yeah. So my grandfather, was a Jewish priest, a rabbi in a village called Gondar in Ethiopia.
And they would call themselves priests because they were wearing the turbans, and they had the
Exactly.
same kind of model with the outer court, inner court. Like
Yeah.
even their synagogues were still
Yes.
modeled in that way, right?
And he would dress all white. He had this big white hat. And my grandfather personally was one of the most influential leaders. And people come to him, ask questions about faith. He knew a lot of portions of the scriptures by heart, memorized them. And his journey to faith was really interesting. As an evangelist came from the UK to the village. And, they were in close communities of Jewish. They were not getting mixed with other groups. There were Christians and Muslims. But one of those evangelists came to the village. He met my grandfather, and he told him that the Messiah that we're all waiting for already came. He shared with him that his name was Yeshua, Jesus, or Jesus. And he told him that the prophecies point to him, and he showed him the prophecies that were really clear to probably my grandfather, because he didn't have those other concepts of Messiah besides the Bible. And when he shared those with him, he also showed him the stories that point to Yeshua in the scriptures. And the Holy Spirit moved in my grandfather's heart, and he actually took his big white hat and he threw it to the ground, and he said, "I'm going to follow Yeshua."
Wow.
So that was his turning point to knowing and accepting Jesus as his Messiah and Savior.
And was it your grandparents that moved to Israel, or was it your parents?
So all of my family moved to Israel, including my grandparents.
Okay. Before you were born?
Yes, before I was born.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, he accepted faith. He had 12 children. My mom was the only one to accept faith. The rest rejected faith.
Oh, really? Is it still back in Ethiopia?
Yes.
Wow.
Still back in Ethiopia. And actually, they made aliyah.
So, hey, wait. Okay, so your grandfather had 12 children.
Yeah.
Biblical.
Come on.
12 tribes of Israel.
Hey.
He's a priest. Why wouldn't he have 12 children? And your mom is the only one of the 12 that followed Yeshua.
Accepted Yeshua, yeah.
And then did all 12 of his kids move to Israel?
Yeah, so he started, he moved, his children moved, my grandmother moved, and my mom was one of the last one to try move. And actually, she has an interesting experience trying to make aliyah.
Okay. As
she was getting to the airport and getting approval with all the aliyah agencies, there was a guy there. He was Israeli, and he was fluent in Amharic, which is the Ethiopian language. And he saw my mother, and he recognized her by the other people that were in the village, and he told her, hey, I know your face. You are not Jewish. You are Christian. Because you got to understand this. Let's go circle back.
Yep.
In the village, you had the Jewish village where you have only Jewish people, right?
Yeah.
And you have the Christians and the Muslims outside of the village persecuting the Jews. But inside the Jewish village, you had those Messianic Jews that accepted Yeshua as their Messiah, being persecuted by the Jews, being called names, being pointed out. And that was kind of the first time for her to really get persecuted. When she tried to make aliyah, the guy told her, "You're not Jewish, you're not making aliyah." And she was, "What? My grandfather, my mother, and my siblings are already in Israel, and how you can say that I'm not Jewish? What do you mean?" I was like, "No, you're not Jewish." And he sent her back home. 6 months later, she heard that guy left back to Israel, and she said, "I'm going to try again." She went, and as she was standing in line, she got to the guy that gives the passport and everything.
Yeah.
He looked at her, and he was like, and she looked at him, and she was like, "Oh, this is my cousin." And he told her, "What are you doing here? All your family are in Israel. Give me," and she was, "Just give me your passport." He stamped it, and he sent her to Israel as she was going to the plane. It was really, feels like a Bible story. How she make it to Israel, and that's how she came to Israel. She met my dad here.
Yeah. Well, this is an important thing to mention, because maybe a lot of Christians listening don't know, and we talk about this a lot. The understanding, especially biblically, that a Jewish person that puts their faith in the Messiah of Israel is a very Jewish thing.
Yes.
We think of it as a Christian thing because we tend to think of Gentiles who leave whatever pagan religions like the Roman Empire or atheism in today's vernacular, and then put their faith in this God of Israel or Jesus Christ, which means Messiah, we don't often nuance, but a Jewish person like the Apostle Paul or any of the early disciples putting their faith in the Messiah of Israel, that does not change their Jewish identity. How would that ever change their Jewish identity? But in the early 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, really probably 2nd through 5th century, there became an increasing divide of Christians believe in Jesus and Jews don't. And the Messianic Jews were always caught in the middle and told you have to choose. And it still exists today. Most Christians don't want to leave space for Messianic Jews in their theology and their understanding. And most people in the Jewish community don't want to make space for Messianic Jews to be Jews because they think, no, you're just a Christian. You're pretending to be Jewish now. You've rejected Judaism. And Messianic Jews are often denied aliyah, which is the return to Israel, becoming an Israeli citizen, because they'll say, even though you're Jewish, your father was a rabbi, your family's in Israel, whatever it is, if you believe in Jesus, you're no longer Jewish, you're a Christian, which is crazy to me, but it's widespread.
It is crazy because, you can be Jewish and follow, I'm telling you, be an atheist, believe in whatever you want to believe.
Yeah.
And you will still be considered Jewish.
Yeah.
But as soon as you come and you mention the name of Yeshua, and you put your trust in him, you lose your Jewishness, which is just,
it's not biblical.
It's not basically. Yeah.
But
exactly.
But that's important for us to know. So, so your mom makes aliyah.
Yeah.
She comes to Israel.
Yes.
And I remember you telling me her story of kind of growing up. I think it was in a yeshiva, and her having to wrestle with her, her belief and her following Yeshua, surrounded by more of the Orthodox community.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Totally. So, coming to Israel, literally, my grandparents and family and my mother, they were dreaming, and before they came to Israel, they really knew it's about to happen. They were praying and they were waiting to go, and they just knew, and they actually thought they're gonna get to Jerusalem, it's gonna be all gold and ready. But when they got to Israel, they just getting in, receiving. My mom got to start studying. She was in the dental world, and she started studying. It was in a religious place where it was supported by the government and kind of yeshiva, but to women, and she was spending time there studying, and but out of her faith, she wanted to share her faith with others, so she started sharing that with other girls. And the numbers were increasing. People were coming to those Bible groups in the dorms and hearing about Yeshua, the Messiah. And some people didn't like it. And just a short story. I don't usually tell it outside, but I will share it today. When one of the ladies in that group got frustrated out of some reason, she went and she told them about the group and what was going on in that religious circle. There was believers in Yeshua. So my mom, she dreamed that she's gonna be kicked out, and she knew that's gonna happen.
Like she had a dream that she was gonna get kicked out. Wow.
And she started packing, and her friends asked her, "Why you pack?" And she said, "I know why I'm packing." And literally, day later in the morning, the people from the school came and said, "Hey, you're not going to school today. You have a meeting with the principal, which is their main rabbi." So she said, "I understand." She took her stuff and she got to the meeting, to the office. And as she entered the door, this rabbi sits, dressed all black. He has big, long beard and all the books behind him. And she sit down, and he looked at her and says, her name is Leah, and says to her, "Leah, we couldn't believe that you believe in this Yeshu. We couldn't believe that you believe in this Yeshu." And just people call him Yeshu. I will explain really close. And you are not only believing in Yeshu, you are telling about him to others here in our school, in our dorms. And I'm telling you, I don't know where that courage from. I believe now I understand where that courage from came to my mom, where she just to the ground and she's told him, first of all, his name is not Yeshu. His name is Yeshua. And he got angry. And actually, just to explain, Yeshu is a acronym for the name of Yeshua today. And most people in Israel call Jesus Yeshu, and it says, "May his name be blotted out and casted out of our memory." Those are the acronyms of those letters. Just they took one letter out away that takes the whole meaning of Yeshua, which means salvation. So this is called it only Yeshu. That's something that was embedded through the generations.
Yeah, it's almost like a derogatory term, like
Exactly.
Joshi, like, oh, you're a little Yeshu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she told him, "Hey, his name is Yeshua," and he was like, "I can believe you're telling me this." And she told him, "Look, all the books behind you are pointing to him. He is our Messiah. He is the one. And one day you will understand it." And he told her, "No, no, no, you stop. You are not going to tell me about this Messiah. You're not going to share that with me." And as she was saying that, and they were talking, he said to her, he gave her an ultimatum. He said, "You either stop believing in this Yeshua and Yeshua, and you start your studies again, and we forget about this, Leah, or you can go with your Yeshua, and you are being kicked out of this school." And in that moment, she faced the situation where she had to choose, and praise the Lord, and by His grace, and she got even more, and she said from her mouth, she told him, "You know that my mom passed away a week ago. You know that I just made aliyah, I just came to Israel, and I'm new here. And you still want to kick me out of this place. I just want you to know that one day you're going to face God, the great judge. And I just want to tell you, prepare what you're going to say to him that day." And she was basically kicked out of the school.
Wow.
God has grace and everything, but just to understand what my parents and our parents went through coming coming to Israel back in the day, where it was not so acceptable.
Yeah, totally.
To be a follower of Yeshua.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's amazing you come from such a strong family who's strong in their convictions. So that then brings us to you.
Yeah.
So when did following Yeshua become real for you? And now what do you feel called to do within the body of Messiah? Like what do you feel like your assignment is?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, being born to this kind of family, you're like, okay, I understand. My faith is not just a faith that we have as a culturally or something. This is a faith that we want to live and, express it and it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I grew up actually in Orthodox Jewish school as well.
Oh, wow.
Because it was the closest to our home and they have amazing values. Some people would, because of the rejection to Yeshua, will throw everything that the rabbis say to the side. But no, they have beautiful things.
Yeah, totally.
In the faith and amazing things. Growing up, I felt different. I didn't know why as a kid, but it was amazing studies, waking up every morning, praying from the Siddur, the prayer books.
Yeah.
And I was
right
doing
behind you.
Come on. And making those prayer, I was praying everything in my heart in the name of Yeshua.
Yeah.
So growing up, I didn't really know what was the difference, but I knew there was a difference.
Yeah.
Just shortly, I was share that when I was something that was really profound to me when I was fifth grade. I remember the rabbi in my school. He was the most amazing guy. Everybody loved him because he loved us, the kids.
Yeah.
And he was sharing always about all those heroes in the Bible, Abraham, Moses, David. We were sharing all of those, but he never mentioned Yeshua. And as a kid, I was like, he doesn't know Yeshua. Somebody should tell him. Before I did that, I went back home and I told my mom, a rabbi in school doesn't know Yeshua. Somebody should tell him. And she invited my dad, and they both explained to me why it was not a good idea. And that's what the key moments for me, because that's where I understood that I'm part of the minority. I mean, like, there's two different worlds in Israel. Like my family, kind of like Yeshua was part of my life. I had real experience with him since young age.
Yeah.
I knew who he was. But still, around me, everybody pointing and saying that my faith is wrong. So how can I, as a Messianic Jewish, really trust in that? How can I be right and all of those rabbis be wrong?
Yeah.
You know, so those are questions that every Messianic Jewish kid or person in Israel
Yeah.
has to go through.
Yeah.
Those forces, and out of that, the first steps that called me to the calling that I believe God placed on my life, and it calls us. He wants to see His people and recognize and see
Yeah.
Yeshua as Messiah.
Yeah, totally. And for those of you who might not know, Emmanuel has been called by many people in Israel the Messianic Justin Bieber. So, I cannot confirm or deny that, but you have done amazing things for the worship in Israel. There's not a lot of Messianic worship that's coming from Israel. There's only a handful. It's almost a newer development that's happening right now in the land, and you're a very big part of that. So can you tell me about your journey as a worship leader? Because I'm sure that there's also this tension of, worship in the Western Christian culture and then worship in Israel, which in the Orthodox, worship is not this vibrant part of the service. Like in America, very, very rarely would you go to a church and not experience musical worship. But I think many Christians might not realize that that's not a very Jewish concept, at least in the services, where you're having an electric guitar and drums, So can you tell me a little bit about where the heart for worship came in and kind of what God's put on your heart?
Absolutely. So for me, it was close to my home, as my mom was playing the keyboard with Ethiopian Amharic worship, and just the Jewish culture and tradition is singing songs. We are around the table and we sing songs, and we go to school in the morning, and we not only pray from the siddur before we get to the class. We stand outside and we sing songs, and actually. Now that I got to remember, we sing every morning. We sang in my school about the coming of the Messiah. It's like how we wait and long for the Messiah to come.
Wow.
To come.
Yeah.
I believe to come back. But
Yeah.
it was really part of our culture. Singing.
Yeah.
And so growing up like that, I grew up in a small congregation in Netanya where we didn't have all of those instruments and stuff. And my generation, our first language is Hebrew, so we want to worship in Hebrew. We want to do everything in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And we didn't have nothing. We just started singing a cappella worship songs.
Yeah.
Or either put a CD and sing with a CD on.
Oh, a CD, got it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the Jewish culture, there's lots of singing. I mean, even at the Passover Seder, they're singing, but it's mostly a cappella.
Exactly.
And there's not a lot of instruments in like the service or the synagogue service or anything like that. So you're trying to sing in Hebrew as this Messianic, Jewish community, and there's not a lot out there.
Exactly. And, going years later when I was around 12, 13, 14, that's where the first time I was exposed to, the broader body of Christ in Israel.
Yeah.
And where some of the congregation already had those men. I remember going to my first youth conference where I saw somebody who did worship with the guitar and another guy on the bass and one guy on the drums and one guy on the keyboard. I was like, they sing and they play live. What is going on? What is this?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the guy with the keys and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I started learning, going on YouTube and how to play Adele, Someone Like You, and so that was
the first song. It was Adele. It had to be Adele.
You got to start from somewhere. They're like, oh, I understand I can do worship. And that's where I started learning more chords and stuff like that. And then being able to minister that starting from the home congregation where I grew up and pick up a guitar because you cannot carry the piano everywhere you go.
True.
That was kind of the first steps for me in that world.
Yeah. And now you've released some albums or EPs.
Yeah.
You travel to other congregations, churches, and lead worship.
Yeah.
But you also speak and communicate and teach. So what would you say as you travel around America right now? You're you're traveling. You're here quite often. I feel like you're a traveling fool sometimes.
Yeah.
What are the things that you feel are maybe the most misunderstood from the Christian evangelical culture in America regarding Israel?
Yeah. So I feel like a lot from what my experience, I go and I meet people. A lot of Christians uh, would say those who say they love Israel,
Yeah.
they never really engage
Mm.
with Jewish people and from Israel and like
Yeah.
Jewish believers.
Yeah.
So they have those misunderstanding about different small things of nuances, how they speak, how they
Yeah.
reach Jewish people, how to just understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Um, kind
Yeah.
of like they don't know. I don't think that they want to know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe they want to know and learn, but it's just like the presence was missing of people from Israel out of Zion go
Yeah.
in those places.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really an important point. There was a historical term, and I think I'm going to butcher it. I can't remember, but it's something. There was a term given for the imaginary Jew. I can't remember if imaginary is the right word, but it was basically this idea of, look, I've never met a Jew, but here's what they're like. And
Mm,
it's like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't talk about the Jewish culture when you've never met a Jewish person. But because the Jewish people were always a smaller minority and there was all these conspiracies about the Jewish community, people would just latch on to this idea of the imaginary Jew.
yeah.
And even the ones that are, like you're saying, pro-Israel or love the Jewish people, in some cases there's still this imaginary Messianic Jewish
Yeah.
community, and they're missing the real relationship. I think it's so important. That's what we're constantly trying to tell churches is first step, pray for
Yeah.
Israel, pray. Next step, learn, you know, go to this website, read this book, watch these videos, like learn more about the culture. And the third one is relate.
Yeah.
Go meet the Jewish community, even if it's, the Orthodox synagogue across the street,
Yeah.
or if it's, Messianic Jewish congregations in Israel, starting a relationship with them. But if we don't have relationship,
Yeah.
then we're always dealing with the imaginary Jewish community in our head, and we're always going to be off, in some regard.
Exactly. Sometimes you weren't. I mean, like me going out of Israel, I believe like I'm kind of like the first Tzabra born and raised in Israel, like going out to the nation doing the worship stuff, and
Mm.
people were surprised. Some people were surprised. Oh, they're like
Yeah.
dark-skinned Jews. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's not a white colonialism or something.
Yeah.
Like no, I mean, like Israel is full of cultures
Yeah.
and backgrounds
Yeah.
and stories and.
You just threw out the term Sabra without even defining it.
Oh yeah.
Sabra meaning born in Israel, and this is a plant in
Yeah.
Israel that's thorny on the outside but sweet on the inside.
Come on.
Which is that's you Israelis. You can be thorny on the outside but sweet on the inside, and that's a term meaning you were born in Israel, right?
I'll take it. That's right. Yes.
So Sabras are born and raised Israelis. Well, I know there's a burden on your heart for the body of Messiah, what we would call the body of Christ. Again,
Yeah.
Christ is just the Greek word for Messiah. So those are interchangeable terms. A lot of people
Right.
get a little wonky. Why is he calling it the body of Messiah? The body of Messiah, the ecclesia, the church,
Yeah.
understanding Israel and the importance of Yeshua regarding Israel. So I'd love to just let you talk on that. Like, why does it matter? I think that's the question a lot of Christians ask, which is a great question. We were talking the other day. Someone was like, "Hey, was the Garden of Eden actually where they were dispelled from? Were they existing in Eden, but they were just rejected from the garden, but they were still in Eden, or were they rejected from all of Eden?" And my question was like, what does that matter?
Yeah.
Like, does that change anything if it
Yeah.
was just the garden or if it was all of Eden? So many times that's the question we ask. Why does it matter? You're coming with these amazing fun facts about Israel and fun facts about the Jewish people and maybe even fun facts about Jesus being Jewish. But what does it matter? Like, does it really change anything for us to know this or to have a relationship with Messianic Jewish believers? What would you say?
I believe it's really tied to God's promise and covenant, which is unbreakable.
Yeah.
God's covenant is something that he said, he fulfill it. If he promised something, it's gonna happen. It's not gonna replace or throw away certain group
Yeah.
of people. And the importance of the Jewish people in Israel, from what I see in the scriptures,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter what I think and what anyone thinks, but what
Yeah.
the scriptures say
Yeah.
is that when Yeshua talks to Jewish people, he says, I won't be coming back until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. And it's an invitation that the Jewish people, Israel, needs to get to accomplish to, and say and welcome him. And from the text, it's really clear that until a large amount of Jewish people accept Yeshua as their Messiah, as a nation,
So
he
good.
won't be coming back. So,
Yeah.
and we want him to be back, as me as a believer, Messianic believer. And I believe whoever is watching this, if you're a Jewish person or not, you follow Yeshua, you want to see him coming back.
Yeah.
And that's a key thing. So the gospel is for everybody, but it's for the Jew first.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, there is reason for that.
Yeah, priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, the term first in Romans 1:16, I'm unashamed of the gospel of Yeshua Messiah, Jesus Christ, power to salvation to all those who believe, to the Jew first.
Yeah.
That word first could be first. It could also mean especially.
Yeah.
Like especially. Why especially? Because he's the firstborn. They're the firstborn of the covenant, the ones that he made the covenant with first. And eventually it was to go to all the nations. That was the promise of Abraham, is through you, I'm going to bless all families of the earth.
Yes.
And that happened through the resurrection and ascension of Yeshua. But I love that verse that you mentioned where Jesus says, you will not see me again.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I read that growing up or heard that statement growing up and never really slowed down and focused on what Jesus just said.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you read this, and I was pulling it up, Luke 13, I think it's in Matthew 20, maybe 21, 23. Jesus is weeping over Jerusalem. And he says, oh, Jerusalem, you who killed the prophets, you who, stoned God's messengers, how I desperately wanted to bring you under my arms like a mother hen, which is, there's something fascinating even in that, because that's a feminine characteristic. He's saying like a mother, which talk about, things that make Christians go wonky. It's like, because there's this feminine side, this motherly side. Yeah. I wanted to gather you under my hands like a mother gathers her chicks, but you wouldn't let me. And so then he starts talking about, so because of this, you're going to have your house left in ruins, destruction's going to come. The same thing's echoed in the Tanakh, the Old Testament. You're going to get kicked out of the land, like all these things. And that's where Christians usually focus. See, this is Jesus prophesying the destruction of the temple because the Jews rejected him, which, like you said before, let's nuance this. Yeah. Some Jews, maybe even most or many, but all of the disciples were also Jews. Yeah. So it's not fair to say the Jews rejected him. All of his disciples were Jews. Yeah. All of the early church were Jews. All of the ones that gave their life to Yeshua and got filled with the Holy Spirit in Acts 2 are Jews. Yeah. Traveling to celebrate Pentecost, Shavuot. But then he says, you will not see me again. Yeah. And I've even heard you talk about this on a podcast where you said, Yeshua said, you won't see me again until this happens. And the response was like, oh, so you think Jesus isn't coming back until Israel asks for him back? And I remember watching that and being like, no, that's not what Emmanuel said. That's what Jesus said. Yeah. He said, you will not see me again until you cry out, Jerusalem, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, which is from the Psalms. Yeah. And so you're right. If we're wanting to hasten the return of Yeshua, then Israel has to understand who Yeshua is and want him. And the reason that I would argue it's so important for the Christians to get it is because Christians are often presenting Jesus in a way that no Jewish person would want him. Yeah. because they're saying if you want Jesus, you have to stop being Jewish and become Christian. Well, that's not the message.
Yeah.
That's not what Yeshua wants. When did he say, like, all right, disciples, you want to follow me? Stop being Jewish. No, it was Jew and Gentile together in covenant. So sorry, I
No, this is powerful.
jumped on top of that, but like that, I think that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
Do you feel like churches are starting to get this, or is it, or do we still have our work cut out for us?
In a way, but yeah, it's just like this podcast, and you know, when I travel and being able to share those things, and I was sharing with you earlier when I went to that church, and she told me, "Oh, you convert people?" Then she was in a supportive way. I'm like, "No, I'm not in the converting business. I just want to share with my Jewish brothers that the Messiah already came. Our Messiah already came.
Yeah, the Messiah of Israel.
Yes, of Israel. That he came for the lost sheep of Israel.
Yeah,
and also be a blessing to all nations.
Yeah,
that's the burden that Paul also has, and he shares that. And
yeah, he literally says, "I would trade my salvation if it meant the salvation for my people." And so, if we're gonna love Israel like Jesus, then we should be weeping for Jerusalem. If we want to love Jesus like Paul, we should be willing to trade our salvation if it meant the salvation for Israel. Which, again, salvation means deliverance. You could translate salvation into deliverance every time. We think it's only spiritual, eternal, but it's also this physical deliverance, or this emotional deliverance. Like, if you ask any Israeli, do you want to be saved? Salvation, that might be, okay, you're trying to convert me, Christianity, but do you want to be delivered from the hands of the enemy? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not just praying. Christians should not just be praying for the spiritual salvation, but there's also this desire for, like, deliver them from the hands of the enemy, deliver them from hands of oppression, deliver them where they can live in peace. It's more nuanced than just this one checkbox, said prayer, done, which is how often Christians think. And it's so much greater than just that. Obviously, salvation is incredible. The fact that we can spend eternity with God forever, but I just feel like Christians often miss that physical element as well.
Yeah, and we see the spiritual tension.
Yeah.
Physically today. I mean, like, you can look in Israel, you can see what has been going on since that. They even before the establishment of the nation of Israel, back in 1948 till today. October 2023. You can see that it's not physical; it's the spiritual tension opposing the God's chosen people.
Yeah, totally. I've always said it's one of the most convincing truths, or most convincing arguments that the God of the Bible is the one true God, is the complete illogical persecution of the Jewish people. For all of recorded history, the Jews have been persecuted. And you're like, why? They're persecuted when they're not in their land. They're persecuted when they are in their land. This isn't about just land. Why were they persecuted in Europe? Why were they kicked out of almost every nation in Europe? Kicked out of England, kicked out of Russia, kicked out of Germany, kicked out of Poland, kicked out of Spain, kicked out of Portugal. Like, it's a spiritual attack against God's chosen. Just exactly what you said. There's no other logical way to describe why it's always the Jewish people. It's because there's a spiritual element as well. And so I think until we understand that, we're just going to be grasping at straws. Oh, Israel's persecuted because of this reason. It's deeper than that. So before we leave and go get lunch and maybe some Texas barbecue, is there anything you want to leave us with? Any last thought, prayer, encouragement, rebuke, anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I believe that today more than ever, Israel needs your prayer, our prayer, and not only prayer, but standing with Israel, being a voice, clear voice. And as you study and learn, so you said prayer, you said learning and relating, and you can start those and go from praying, continue praying, of course, to learning more, understanding the language, understanding the people, understand those things, and then relating, connecting, and being a voice in your communities and in your surroundings. It takes small drops to affect a whole community.
Totally.
A whole. So if you feel like you cannot do anything, yes, you can do something about it, and you can stand in the way, and that's, I believe, God's calling for us.
Yeah.